Like, welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me D. Neil Elliott, who is an author. And the book is called A Higher Road, Cleanse Your Consciousness to Transcend the Ego and Ascend Spirituality. I love that title. You were an engineer. You worked in the hydro industry, which I think is fascinating because I did too for a while. And so I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to just share a little bit more how you had that journey from outward success to inner peace and what prompted the journey. And I want to also eventually get around to your 7 steps of the higher road, because I just love that you had this experience of being in one way and having that massive transformation. But before we get to that transformation, I want to ask you, how were you as a little kid? Did you have any intuition? How did you connect with the world when you were little?
Yeah, and all of this is described in my book. Probably not quite the question you're asking, but my childhood. So I'm the youngest of six, born in 1960, and my dad died when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
So the experience I had, we won't get into that, but in your specific question, I would ponder. I would go out and we had this, huge, at the elementary school, grade 1 to 4, which is a couple blocks from our house, had this huge lawn, so to speak, baseball diamonds and stuff like that. But just this beautiful lawn, these huge trees, oak trees and things like that. I would lie in the grass and I would stare at the sky and I would marvel at, all the plants, like the 4-leaf clovers or the 3-leaf clovers in the grass, and then the little bugs crawling all over the place. And I used to lie back. I can remember this. I used to lie back and just, I knew nothing about religion, nothing. I would, grew up agnostic. And I just felt that there was some mastermind behind everything, but I had no idea what it was.
Hmm.
And I don't think I was consciously aware of any connection with anything.
Well, because back then you didn't need to, you already were.
Yeah. I was I was in that phase of crafting my life in a very kind of narrow and non-inward, everything external.
I understand that, because I went the path of academia, so because that's what I thought my path was, right? Until I found out it wasn't. So you mentioned before I pressed the record button that you had this pivotal moment in your life where you went from being a professional engineer, working in the hydro industry, having this external life that looked really successful, but internally you could feel something was off. And so I want to go there and talk about that and what brought that awareness to you to um tune into that greater plan.
Yeah, so okay, so like you said, professional engineer, and essentially I manage large hydroelectric projects, a small or large. Um, in the 90s, I read some, Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer and Carolyn Myss, those kinds of things, because I was curious and could understand them. I loved Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer, great writer, funny, all the good stuff.
Hmm.
And I'd read those books and I wanted to understand. I could understand intellectually what it was, but I had no depth of understanding.
Hmm.
In 2002, I left employment and I went into consulting and I created my own consulting business. And so from 2002 to 2017, essentially I was putting myself out to clients. And in order to get return work, you're always on, yeah, I got to be on top of your game and do the best you can do. So I spent this time from 2002 to 2020, essentially, but 2017, work, work, work. You didn't work, you didn't get paid. Take vacation, get sick, don't get paid. So just worked.
Mm,
and great family, kids launched, all that kind of stuff. And what I was really doing was I was just slowly driving myself into this really deep, dark, despondent depression.
mm,
And in 2015, 2013, 2015, I realized I was there. I was trying to, I was grasping at anything to try and get books. No one knew about it, didn't share it with my wife, my family, clients, never, friends, not at all. And so I was just on outward, we'd travel. I'd love going, I could have been German or Italian in a past life. I just love those countries anyway. Um, my wife is originally from Germany, so we had lots of relatives there. So when we travel, it was fantastic. But when I got back to kind of day to day life, it was just this mundane churn, churn, churn. And so in 2015 or so, I was picked up some books. I'm reading them. By the time I got to 2017, I was totally done.
mm.
Our house had been on the market for 5 years. It hadn't sold. We had this beautiful waterfront home that we custom built,
Mm,
but the market had dropped in that area and it never recovered it for 2008. And anyway, so the house had been on the market for 5 years, finally sold. And the final signature on the deals removing all subjects was November 2017. So I thought, okay, at that point, my wife jumped on a plane to visit family and friends in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And we were in this little one-bedroom rental apartment in the city. And I just thought, I am totally done. This house, when the subjects come off, I'm going to plan my suicide out and figure out
wow.
what I'm going to do. So my wife got on a plane, left. I sat down at the kitchen table. I crafted my suicide note. I planned out my suicide. And I thought, okay, I will plan it out for 3 months to ensure we could move. I get rid of all the crap I accumulated over a lifetime and make sure my wife's okay financially. And I would do it in a way that I wouldn't compromise life insurance. And about a week prior to that date, some material showed up. I was doing a search for something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but this odd material showed up that I would have never considered looking at before. And I thought, I read a little bit of it and I thought, oh, this is interesting. It's not what I expected. Like it's marketed in a way that I would have run from. It's not what I expected. So I think I'll give it a go. So I started reading it. And as I read it, it was so logical and rational. It bridged this gap between spirituality and science in a way that had never been done before by any other writer for me.
Mm,
And it was so logical and it was so rational and it drew on Newtonian science, which made sense. And so I studied it and I thought, okay, well, as the 3 months came up and we had moved, I was thinking, like my faith was slowly building,
mm,
faith and trust in the universe, so to speak.
mhm, mhm,
And so I kept studying it. And then in end of December. So what happened is in August or so, about 7 months, 8 months after I started to feel this little tingling at the top of my head. It's about the size of a dime. It felt really weird. Never experienced anything like that before. And I just kept going. And that opening grew from a dime to, 4 inches and then 6 inches. Today, you could put a bowl over my head down to here. That's how big that opening is. And, after a couple months, I figured as it was growing, I went, oh, I know what's going on. Like I'm impressing new brain cells with new knowledge that's operating at a higher frequency and making this connection with the divine God, Yahweh, the Tao, whatever you want to call it.
mhm,
And um, so the spiritual energy flowed into me at the end of December of 2018. So 13 months after I started, I went into a meditation and I meditate every morning. So typically 90 minutes every morning. You don't have to do this, but that's what I do. And so I got into the position. I had my coffee, listened to a little bit of the material that I listened to, and then I got into my meditative state. And all of a sudden, the spiritual energy flowed in through my crown of my head, just like filled my body in an instant, and then totally enveloped me like a deep sea diver suspended in the ocean. And it was just, I was bathed in unconditional love. And I didn't care what anybody had done to me in the past. I didn't care what I had done. I cared about nothing. I didn't care about my aches and pains or illnesses my body had. I felt so incredibly loved and supported and non-judged. And I just wanted to stay there forever. I
Mm-hmm.
came out of that meditation, and 2 days later, I had the exact same meditation. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point, I knew that what I knew was true, and that this material had taken me through a process to cleanse my consciousness, lift my frequency to a higher vibrational level, and allow me to make that connection with source. Source always emits unconditional love unstintingly to everything in creation. And it is our vibrational frequency that blocks it. And
Mm-hmm.
as soon as we can get to a certain level where we're maybe not matching sources, but we're reaching out and we've lifted our vibrational frequency, then it can enter into us and let itself known to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will, as long as we continue to keep doing that, continue with the process, it slowly and imperceptibly changes things in your mental construct, your consciousness, in your body, and you can then start to feel these energies. So in August, this energy is coming in, and I'd feel it sometimes in my head, sometimes in my chest, sometimes in my solar plexus, or sometimes it'd run down one side of my body and up the other side. In this last couple of years, now that is just so, like, the energies are just so strong right now, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just so incredibly beautiful. So then it's been this onward and upward journey since then.
That's so
And
beautiful.
we could get into quantum mechanics, all that kind of stuff, but you don't, we need, everybody thinks, everybody has a construct that makes sense to them, or they need certain material. There's many paths to the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And but you need something that intellectually makes sense to you, so that you're willing to do the work so you can make this connection.
I
And then
have
once
a,
you
I'm
then once you
shaking,
make that,
yes.
yeah, and then once you make that connection, then, and I will continue, and I will say this all the time, every answer that you need or want or desire is all inside of you. This is an inward journey, friends. But typically you need something externally that will take you to a place where you're willing to do that work. And then
I,
as you do that,
yeah.
then as you do that inward journey, you'll build the faith to keep going with it.
I hear that so deeply. Like I former historian, left brain very highly developed, like loves doing research. So when I started doing body talk, consciousness, right? So quantum physics, my left brain went down so many rabbit holes to like, and so I'm doing it. I'm working in the quantum field and consciousness, however you want to call it, and then I have the left brain like getting it. And so that's been my journey of like having that overdeveloped former academic self, like getting the comfort level of understanding what I already know.
Yes, yeah, everything you already know everything. It's just a
Right.
matter of remembering it, really.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
we have to go through this intellectual exercise to convince ourselves to work to remember
I know. It's so tiring. I mean,
it.
I I love it. Um, and like when I feel, and it's to the point where I'm like, I don't try to question it anymore. But like when I'm in a hike, I used to be like the hiker that would just like hike, 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 right? Just like go ahead and plow. Now I'm the one that any cedar or any kin to a cedar that feels my energy, especially if they're the little ones like that big, they stop me cold turkey. And I'm like, but I was, oh, okay, I guess I'll say hi to you now because I feel their energy asking for me to say hi. And so I have to be at the end of the pack if I'm hiking with anyone because I just need to share energy. And my left brain was like, what are you doing? And yet my heart was expanding when I was connecting with them. So it's like, okay, so who am I going to listen to? This thing that's just programs or what my heart is telling me?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you making the choice of listening to your heart,
Hmm.
which is perfect. I mean,
It's
that's what
it. Go ahead.
go ahead.
It's a journey because we're all supposed to be living through our hearts, and everything in our society conditions us to look outward.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, this era that we're in right now, golden age, some will call it age of Aquarius, whatever you want to call it, is really around to coming back to having that balance in your heart and to live from the heart, instead of letting your mind drive what you do and your feelings follow. You really need to listen to your heart and let your mind, kind of work to support that, so to speak. And, we really need that balance between the aspects of ourself from our, spirit, soul, and then this manifested experience of thinking and feeling. And most of us, me in particular, but most of us have buried our feelings and ignored our feelings. Women are more in tune, typically. That's my experience.
Hmm.
Women are more in tune to their feelings. And, um, there's a great, do you ever watch the movie Saving Grace?
I have not.
Okay, well, there's this scene where one of the actors, I can't remember what his name was. It's Brendan Fraser, I think. But anyway, one of the actors has a fight with his girlfriend. They're not married yet. And so he's really upset. She's upset. He's upset. So he's in playing pool with somebody. And he's really blah 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 blah. Like so the other guy that he's playing with just sits down the bench, and this actor goes on, his character goes on about, oh, the blah blah blah, really nasty language about his girlfriend and stuff, and he spends about a minute on it. And then he goes silent, and the other guy goes, "You done?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm done." And then they go back to playing pool. Everything's cool after that. And that to me, that's just a great metaphor, if you will, of the way a lot of men are. Like just do you bury stuff, you intellectualize it. Okay, we've talked about this enough. Done. Move on,
Yeah.
right? In reality, it's buried and it just keeps eating away at you, right? But
Yeah.
you really got to let it come out, and it's the appropriateness of how you do that.
Hmm. Hmm. I have a technique. It's a somatic technique where like this morning at around 2:30, I felt something in my heart that felt like really deep anxiety. And I've gone through this path many, many times, so I know what the feeling is. And I was just present with the feeling. I didn't get into the story because I don't even know where it's coming from. I just felt it. And then I felt other parts of my body also light up with like this grip of energy. And I'm just being present to it. Like 2 hours later, 3 hours, I don't even know what time I stopped doing it, but I was just feeling it. And it's because I've worked so hard at feeling. I was former historian, I numbed myself out. So like me getting into my heart space was like a really big deal. And so feeling, I don't have to feel the like I just want to feel the feeling. I don't need to get into the story of it because that
Yes.
tends to shut me down when I'm like trying to figure out. I remember one time I was trying to find something in my inner child, and she finally came out and said, "Will you leave me alone? Stop digging. You're a freaking historian and you're like taking all of that energy and you're putting it on me, the 6-year-old. That's not fair. Leave me alone." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry."
And you just and that's a great description. And you've nailed it really well in terms of if you can be present in, when you're feeling a fear or an anxiety or an anger, anything, or judgment against anybody, if you can just be the neutral observer, neutrally observe the feelings, like hold that feeling, let it pass, let that energy just flow through you.
Mhm.
And you can only, you'd only be able to hold it for 45 seconds. unless you're caught up in the story and you get caught up in your mind and you start replaying things or keep, then you perpetuate it. But if you can just neutrally observe your thoughts
Mhm.
and neutrally observe the energy, don't get caught up in the story,
Mhm.
just observe, it'll pass in about 45 seconds. And then you can, kind of just maintain that neutrality
Mhm.
or even better, lift yourself back up to a higher frequency with more positive thoughts and more positive feelings.
Mhm. Well, I felt last night when I was, or this morning rather, when I was feeling all the different energies going on, I was like, my observer self was like, do you realize how much you've grown that you can just be present with all of
Mm,
this? And then I felt gratitude for the fact that I'd spent this much time practicing this, that I could actually just do it. And it was like, wow, I mean, this is actually a really cool thing where I'm feeling all of this stuff, which for some reason had to wait until 2 o'clock in the morning for me to feel it. But like it's coming out and I'm just being present with it. And it is so happy that I am not rushing anything. I'm not demanding anything. I'm not frustrated. I'm just being present. And it's amazing how much stuff shifted.
yes, yes. And yeah, I mean, you say it well.
Thank you. Taking a lot of
It's,
effort.
it's, it, it takes a lot of effort to get to that place where you can do that and you can be the observer and you're willing. We make it really complicated. We like to, in humans like to make this really
I
complicated.
know. I know.
And yeah, you do need some intellectual stuff, but you know, stop looking outside yourself. Like as soon as you're on this path, as soon as you wake up, then start figuring out how you can look. You're still going to sample things and you got to use your discretion, whatever rings
Mm-hmm.
true for you,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no right or wrong, good or bad. It's only your path. And so, if you can find something that makes sense, but always do things that help you go in, make this inward journey
Mm-hmm.
and start asking yourself for questions and listen. And it takes practice to figure out, is this my ego self speaking to me, or is this, someone that a guide or a teacher or someone at a higher vibrational frequency speaking
Mm-hmm.
to you? And it takes practice, but it also takes trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that takes time to develop that. And some people develop it quicker than others. It's just
I had an interesting awareness come in a couple months ago. I was guided to listen to Lee Harris's Conversations with Disease, and I've been following Lee Harris on and off for several years, but for some reason I had never listened to his book, and so I'm listening to the book. It's really great awarenesses that come through. But one of the practices that came through that I love is every morning when I'm done with my meditations, I ask my soul what it wants to tell me.
mm,
And I'm a writer, so like it just comes through, and I'm like, wow, because that's not something I would say to myself. So I know it's not me. I know it's not my ego. It's like because it's so nice. And it's like because ego is not nice. Um, but like it's just this beautiful gift to myself to just check in with my soul to see how I'm doing and get the feedback. And I don't know, it's just a delightful little thing that I give myself every morning. And if I don't do it, I can feel the difference about how my day is going to unfold.
mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, and it sounds like you're asking, you're getting an answer, and you're, trusting and believing what you've heard is actually true.
Mhm.
And it
I
is. So,
I have to do that all the time. This is not
yeah.
like I'm not like it's a practice because like I'm a foodie. I have lots of intolerances towards different foods that are not of the highest vibration for me. So I have to like if I'm ready to do the ego grab for the thing that I know isn't good for me, I'll stop myself and I'll put my hands on my heart and I'll ask my body to show me what a yes and a no is.
Mm.
And if I get the hard no, which is me being like that, so I'm almost to fall over, then I know that it's my ego talking to me that's trying to convince me that I need this chocolate covered pretzel that I don't need.
Yeah, that you, yeah, yeah, I understand. And it's not that it's, right or wrong. It's we're here really trying, working to, this is a game of descent and ascent. So you are already an aspect of God. You already at the highest vibrational level. You are already a master, but you have chosen to fragment yourself, fractalize yourself, if you will, to be at all these various aspects of dimensional reality. And you're choosing right now to go through, you're in this human vibrational state to experience things that cannot be experienced in the state of your highest self, which is just pure unconditional love.
Mhm.
So, in order to experience the dark, if you will, or the things that are contrary to unconditional love, you need to be in a lower vibrational state. And that's where we have our focus at the moment in this state.
Mhm.
And as we do this, we get to experience all these things that are different than unconditional love. And our goal is to get mastery of our thinking and our feeling, or our feeling and our thinking, to expand Christ consciousness and still make the choice of being unconditional love in any situation that arises, being the neutral observer, knowing that that thing that's being reflected back to you is an aspect of yourself, to bring awareness to you, to allow you to experience this, feel it, let it pass through you. And by doing that, we expand God, if you will.
I love that. I had an awareness come in recently that was, it was a shift in the lens through which I see the world and the joy of realizing that all of the life experiences I had, like I knew when I was little, I knew that none of this made sense. None of the matrix made sense to me at all. I was like, I don't get it. And then I look at my life path and I see I never tried to fit into any of the paradigms. I mean, I tried, but I couldn't. It was like trying to fit this very strange looking puzzle piece into squares. And I just couldn't do it. And I get frustrated with myself. I'm like, why can't I fit in? It was because I already knew that I was a multidimensional being and all these different aspects of me were just different reflections of where I was in my awareness.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
It's,
it's I mean that's a gift right there, that, I mean, and just because I didn't or someone else didn't have that experience that you had, everybody has a unique journey.
mhm,
And it's all these unique journeys that have varying interpretations of what's being reflected to them,
mhm,
that adds another bit of color, texture, another thread in the fabric of the universe, right? And
mhm,
expands this tapestry, if you will, of
mhm.
life.
I love that. Yeah, I feel that. And what it helps for me when I realize that everybody's on their own journey, and then I bring in frequency, I don't have the capacity to be upset with anyone
Hmm.
because, if their frequency isn't resonant with mine, there's nothing wrong with that. it takes
No,
away blame, it takes away anger, it takes away frustration with other people. It's just like, oh, let's bring this awareness in. There, this other being is a different frequency. If they trigger me, well, there's something within me that I need to heal. But if they don't trigger me and I'm just observing, bless them. Send them
ex
unconditional love and be on your way.
exactly. Exactly. You said that well.
Thank you.
So my book doesn't get into that because my book is really around the initial awakening. So
Okay.
if somebody, but but now that it's been, you know, since 20, after my awakenings, 2018. So we're 5, 6 years now, right?
That's so wild. But I do want to talk to you about your book because there are people that could really benefit from the lessons that you learned.
Yeah, well, and we've been talking about the lessons, I've structured the book in a way, and I wasn't trying to get off on
No.
the book there, but if you
Okay.
want to go that route, we can for a moment. So, the book is really structured in a way to give everybody my history so they can understand where I came from. They might relate to that, or at
Mhm.
least have an appreciation for it. I had a tumultuous childhood, so to speak. So, give some people a taste of what shaped my thinking and my feeling and how I would end up approaching life. And then how, through my thinking and feeling, I drew all these experiences to me to not only experience and indulge in, but to finally wake me up.
Mhm.
So that's it. So that's part one's an overview of the book. Part two is that history. And then part three is really this opening your mind. And I take you to step one in that opening your mind. That's really a section on consciousness to get everybody on the same page. You know, talk engineer here, right? Writing. So get everybody on the same page to then talk about, science and, various things that I read between mind and memes. The first thing I had to learn for myself was that just because I believe something to be right or wrong, good or bad, true or false, doesn't mean it really is.
Mhm.
It's just the way I think. If I can change how I think, I can change how I view that thing,
Mhm.
whether it's an experience, a person, or something else. And I think that was the first real trigger for me in all of the things that I studied since the 90s that helped me was to understand what I thought was really just this thought going by that I grabbed that I think is right. And then I reinforce that over a lifetime, right? Or bad, however you want to choose it. So step one really gets to the point. I take people through mind and memes and minds and cells. So what we think, how it affects our cells and our body, the mind and the brain. And then I share an NDE, and I call this stretching your consciousness. So it's an NDE that about a woman who at the age of, now I'm not going to quite remember, but around the age of 40, when 4042 had developed cancer, this very aggressive form of cancer. And over a 4 or 5 year period, it took her to the place where she couldn't lift her head. She dropped from a normal body weight down to 80, 90 pounds. She couldn't lift her head on her own. She had tumors throughout her body, and fell into a coma. She had 24/7 care because she couldn't care for herself. She was on oxygen all the time. Fell into a coma, rushed to the hospital. The admitting physicians told her family she wasn't going to make it through the night. She
Wow.
woke up 24 hours later, declared she'd be okay. Within 2 weeks, she had not a trace of cancer in her body.
Wow.
And so this is all documented now in medical thing. Now they
Hmm.
can't explain how it happened. They call
Right.
it spontaneous remission. But what she describes in that period, that 24-hour period of what happened to her and her understandings really helped stretch it. I could understand intellectually what she wrote. I didn't necessarily feel it or know it, but I could understand it. That book actually, one thing she brought back a number of messages. One was we come from unconditional love. We are unconditional love. We're not judged after death. All those great messages. That gave me permission to commit suicide because I felt like, okay, I'm not going to go to hell. I'm not going to be condemned to a place.
Mhm.
So, so I call that step one, stretching your consciousness. And then step two, I unveiled. So this blueprint document, I don't share with people what it is up front because it's marketed in a way which I think most people would run from. And so you need to get to a point where you're willing to be open enough
Mhm.
to at least read it.
Mhm.
Give yourself a chance. So I take people through this process that I went through of all of these various things that got me to a point where I was open enough to read it,
Mhm.
regardless of how it was marketed.
Mhm.
And then when you read it, you'll find it's so logical and so rational and based in science that, for me anyway, it was like, oh, this totally makes sense. That then got me to this point of learning the real purpose of meditation. The real purpose of
Mhm.
meditation, it's not to lower your heart rate or to reduce your stress. It'll do all of that. But the real
Mhm.
purpose of meditation is to enter the silence and stillness of your mind, raise your vibrational frequency so you can make this connection to source.
Mhm.
And when you make this connection to source, you'll feel it. And when you do that, then you'll start this process. Source is in silence and stillness and equilibrium. And no matter how science probes space, they will never be able to discover what source is. This is an experiential thing.
Mhm.
And when you feel it, you will know it.
Mhm.
And so I take people. So step two, I call truths unveiled. So I unveil this document. Step three is I call it reflection. And it's really where you're going to sit down. If you're going to go on this journey, you're going to be given instructions, but you're going to sit down, you're going to write yourself a letter, and you're going to talk about how you really feel about life. And
Mhm.
this is where you need to be really truthful with yourself.
Mhm.
No one's going to see it. It's only for you. You're not going to share it with your spouse, your family, your friends. No one will ever see it. It's only you. And so, and it's not to please a God or anybody else.
Mhm.
You write it down in as honest as you can. You sign it, you seal it, you put it in an envelope. And if you carry on this process, you open it a year later. And
Mhm.
what that's going to do is going to benchmark where you were to where your new place is going to be a year later.
Mhm.
And then, um, so that's step three. So step four is really cleansing your consciousness, learn going through this process to learn how to cleanse your current consciousness of all of these erroneous beliefs that you have.
Mhm.
And then step five is rebuilding your consciousness. And it's works in this iterative process. So it's not a one and done.
Mhm. Mhm.
Step six, you're going to learn this daily meditation that gives you a concept of what your target really is and then how to meditate. And it takes practice. So you're going to get to a place, and it probably took me, maybe 4 months. I can't remember now exactly, but it took me quite a while of persistent working on stopping all my thoughts.
Mhm.
So when I go into meditation, I can just stop all of my thoughts.
Mhm.
And when you stop all your thoughts and you're open, then source can start to make itself known to you.
Mhm.
So it takes a while, it takes practice.
Yeah.
And step seven is a rinse and repeat. You're going to go back and you're going to continue to keep doing this because this isn't a one and done. You got to
Right.
do it. You got to do it. All of this stuff happens slowly and
Mhm.
imperceptibly. And then one day you will have an experience that will convince you that what you know is true.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. Thank you
And
for sharing that.
then it's onward and upward after that.
Yes, because it is a journey. It's not like I remember when I got my PhD, I was like, okay,
Done.
I'm done. I was like, oh no, 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 no. You just got the entrance fee paid. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, I no, I'm done. And it was like, no, you were not done, honey. That was just like that was completion of a thing for your next step. And I was like, I'm exhausted. Wait, I no, I should like have like things happening because I just did this, it was like this whole like crestfallen, like the expectation versus the reality of the hell of getting a PhD, um, which I do not recommend to anyone.
It's yeah, PhD is a lot of work.
Yeah,
I have a master's that was well
that's
enough.
enough. That's more than enough. That's more than enough. I don't know what I did, but it was my path. It was my journey, and I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely.
Grateful I don't use it anymore.
It's
Yeah.
all learning. It's all a learning. Look
Yes.
at all the great experiences you had
Yeah, I did have some pretty
and
magical
all of the
experiences.
great learning that you had. Not only about, oh, I learned something new, isn't that clever? But no, it's like I had this experience and I felt like crap. And what a great experience that was.
It was. It's I know what it was like to be obese.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All of that. All of
Yeah,
that.
I know what it was like to like really go through the journey of people pleasing, because that's ultimately what it was, and how that affects the body
Yes.
and how that's not a good thing for your body to people please to that degree.
No. But you know what it does though is that all of these experiences build your compassion and
Mm-hmm.
understanding and consciousness so that when you encounter someone else that is in that position you've been in, you can actually feel more compassion for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're here doing, right? That's
Yeah.
an aspect of what we're doing. We're building an awareness and understanding of all of those things which are counter to the light, counter to unconditional love that
Mm-hmm.
we think is counter. It's still everything is unconditional
Right.
love.
Right.
That's all there is
Right.
unconditional love. It's
Right.
just we don't view it that way because we consider it to be a negative experience.
Right.
But when you actually understand all of this, you'll understand that, oh, this is just another aspect of love. And this is the thing is like just because you feel one way and you feel bad about something, as long as you can do this in a neutral way and observe it, it's part of, oh, this is part of who I am. I feel
Yeah.
like that. You have to learn to, oh, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I accept that. That's who I am. I'm not
Yeah.
going to retaliate from this egoic
Right.
way and be
Right.
angry or look for revenge. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to look at it and go, oh, that just expanded my awareness and
Mm-hmm.
my stretched my consciousness to be
Mm-hmm.
able to embrace that and love that and
Mm-hmm.
know it and increase my ability to have more compassion for people that are on that same path.
Mm-hmm. Well, and all of the things like I'll give examples from my own life, like codependency and people pleasing. The root of that, of interdependency and compassion towards others, is beautiful. And
Hmm.
my lens distorted those for me to be able to see how they look in different realms. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. It's just that I chose those experiences so I could see them from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, well said.
Thank you. Because they weren't
Well
fun
said.
to
Indeed.
like unfold when I was going through them, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no. But that's part of the experience, right? That's what gives you that,
right,
stretches you. So,
right, right.
and gives you the ability to be the master. So, when anything comes at you now, anything comes at me now, I'm always going, oh, this is a gift. It's a gift for me to see whether or not I have truly mastered my thinking and my feeling, or am I still letting that external event, experience, person yelling at me affect me
Mm-hmm,
and responding to that.
mm-hmm.
So it's a measure, if you will, of your ability to, where you are in your path. Not that it
Right,
matters. Wherever you are in your path is perfect.
right. It's just in terms of like, oh, this is an area that I get to explore more.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like when I have, I'm trying to think if I've been triggered lately. I haven't been triggered lately, but when I do have triggers, um, what I like to do is pause
Hmm.
and feel where it is in my body. Because I know what happens. The tendency is to repress it as soon as possible because I don't want to feel that.
Hmm.
And instead of that pattern of deflecting and ignoring, it's like, oh, no, I just felt something in my body trying to tell me something. I'm not going to use the brain to try to figure out what it was. I'm just going to be present with it. And because I've practiced that so much, even people in my life at different levels of frequency, I look and say, okay, am I still feeling a trigger from them? If I am, I have to just be present with that trigger. And it's okay.
No, and it's perfect. And that is such great personal awareness,
Mhm.
kind of what you're doing, where you're at, because, you describe that well. And I'm still triggered. I still get triggered. And I'm still trying to sort out because this is all in layers, right? Some of these triggers are
Mhm.
so subtle, so
Yeah.
buried, so deep, right? And
Mhm.
so it takes a lot of inner work to try and you mentally try and sort it through. But what I'm practicing now, and I have not mastered it yet, but I will master this
Mhm.
because I am already a master. I just have to remember how to do this.
Mhm.
But the whole thing is to be as you is to be as you say, is to just to stop and don't get caught up and be present in the body and don't try and mentally sort it out. You said it well, and just try and feel it. And where is it? And what's it feel like? Oh, what thoughts are coming along with that? And be that neutral observer.
Mhm.
And that does take practice. That takes a lot of practice to master
I
that.
know. I know. Well, and it comes from that little 6-year-old self saying, leave me alone. Like, because
Yeah, don't blame me.
I used to be like, oh, I'm gonna find out what that thing is. I'm gonna find like a dig. Like I would relentlessly dig to find the source of the pain because I've got this highly developed researcher in me. And so
Hmm.
I would go dig, 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 dig. No, it's not dig, 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 dig. And like I would torture myself for days instead of actually feeling what I was feeling. And by the time I got to the thing, I was shut down again because I was so relentless in the pursuit of trying to figure it out. And so when she came in and she's like, will you leave me alone? I'm 6. Come on, stop it. That's what really triggered. I mean, she just whacked me upside the head. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was doing that because that was just this is like, I was a researcher. Like since 16 to 50, I was doing research. Like I'm an expert doing, like, that's a skill set. So for me to just go from that to really, I don't need to know what it is. That took a heck of a lot of practice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it does. Yeah, absolutely. It does. And I'm still working on that myself. So
That's what grace is for.
exactly.
Yeah. But it's such a beautiful gift to be able to explore these different areas of remembering how incredible we are as human beings.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to the day when we treat each other with love and respect, and we allow that individual creativity to come out, and we stop seeking the money and the houses and the cars, and we respect the earth
Mhm.
and treat her well. And the
Feel like
borders
so.
drop and the wars are gone. It's
It's,
coming.
it is coming. I feel it. I definitely feel it. I want to go back to Canada. I
Yeah,
love
it's
Canada.
coming. Oh,
I mean, I love the
hey,
West Coast, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the West Coast is great. I mean, there's great aspects everywhere, right?
Mhm.
And you know, the States have just some amazing geographical places, right?
Mm.
Like where else can you see, the formations of the sandstone and stuff, like in Utah, southern Utah, which I have not seen in person. I'd love to.
You should drive from Western to Eastern Oregon. It is a magical experience.
Mm,
All the different
hmm.
geographies. It's, I don't know, it's just, I don't, it's such a, we live on such an amazing planet. I'm just saying it. Like every place I've been, I've just found some aspect that I'm like, oh, I want to live here for the rest of my life. And
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
because
And
it's
for
so,
me, Tuscany is one of those places. I love Tuscany.
mm, I've not been yet. I've not been yet. I have been to the foothills of the Himalayas in China.
Oh, hey, that's
And
cool.
that's pretty magical. That is very
Yeah.
magical. Lots and lots and lots of bamboo. So much bamboo. So much
Wow.
bamboo. Um, but really magical mountains and the Yangtze is she is a powerful ancient river.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's like so many wonderful places in the world,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
We just need to treat it well
Yep.
instead of as we currently do. Anyway, we're on our
Well,
path. We're on
we're
our
on
path.
our path, and we're all of us are doing it at our own pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm going to ask you one final question, and that is how can people find you?
Oh, that's good. So the easiest way is ahigherroad.com, and that'll point you to my author's website.
Awesome.
And that's the name of the book, by the way. A Higher Road.
Mm,
Available wherever books are sold, Amazon, bookstores.
awesome. Thank you so much for your time, for your gift on the world to the world, which is your beingness, and for spending this time with me. I'm so grateful.
It's been my honor to meet you and to spend time with you. And I mean, and we're connected, of course.
Hmm,
So,
hmm.
and
Thank you.
we always will be.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Thank you.